Hey everybody, Spencer here with another brand new video, and today we're doing, instead of an editorial, more of a kind of news and update. So, as a lot of you may be aware, the PlayStation Store is closing this summer for PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Vita. Now, ahead of this, a lot of people have kind of been in a frenzy of like, oh my gosh, I gotta get these games before the store closes, because once the store is closed, you will no longer be able to add funds or purchase these games any other way. In fact, Sony's actually made it so the only way to buy digital games on all three of those platforms is you have to be on that system. So if you don't have a PlayStation 3 or a Vita and you want to buy games ahead of time and you don't have that system, you are just sadly out of luck. On the topic of sad things, though, this whole video is about what Atlus West has done recently. And unfortunately, Atlus West over the last couple of weeks has been actually delisting games, and there are 4 games that you can no longer purchase digitally. So, if you are in the market for a copy of Lost Dimensions, Dungeon Travelers 2, or Utawara Romono Mask of Truth or Mask of Deception, you now have to hunt down a physical copy, because they have all been pulled from the PlayStation Store in the West, and the reason behind it is pretty obvious. It's just licensing. The licensing ran up with either the publisher or the developer, whoever Atlus West had licensed the right to publish the English version through. But the problem is not that they took it off the store because they were legally obligated. The problem is that they didn't warn us. The problem is they just kind of ignored these games the way they've been ignoring a lot of their backlog, unfortunately. And a lot of these companies have kind of either been going one way or the other. You're sadly either Sony, who is worried more about the present, or you're kind of more like a Microsoft, who is still proud of their present games, but also wants you to be able to go back in time and check out a lot of these backwards compatible titles. Now, unfortunately, in the lead up to the closure, Atlus and a lot of other companies have just been kind of silent on the whole thing. Obviously, there's not a lot of good news that can come from this, but I figured at least in terms of making money, a lot of these companies are kind of just sitting on the chance to make one last big push of profit before they never make money on these games again. And it's just so strange to me that not only would Atlus kind of just let these games fall by the wayside, but actually when I reached out to Atlus, I couldn't even get a solid confirmation about what other games might be coming, because this could still happen more. There's a chance that they could get rid of Conception 2, there's a chance they could get rid of the Caligula effect, and Conception 2 is not as big of a deal, not because it's not as good of a game, but just because there's a physical version of that, whereas the Caligula effect, that game was only released digitally and sold very, very low numbers. So if you want something like the Caligula effect, I highly, highly recommend that you just pick it up now. And if you are out there waiting for a potential last-minute deal or sale on any of these digital games, unfortunately, Sony has removed all ability to make these games go on sale. The only way PlayStation 3 or Vita games can go on sale anymore is if they are cross-buy with the PlayStation 4 version. Sony a couple of years ago actually took out the ability to put PlayStation 3, PSP, and Vita games on sale. It was just something they did in DevNet because they knew so few games were coming out for it, and they just kind of wanted to remove the feature, which unfortunately now makes some of these games that are full price just kind of stuck that way. So, going back to the whole Atlus thing, I'm really worried about Caligula effect. I was really hoping that once the kind of reception to people finding out that these games are being taken away, that they would either kind of see, oh, it was like a mess up, or oh, we should have let people know, or like, whether it be apologetic or something like that. But unfortunately, it was literally just them kind of being like, oh, yeah, okay, well, not that big of a deal, push it on. Which, like, it sucks, but it's like, I also see their point for it, of like, for them, the couple of hundreds of dollars they might make over the next couple of months over these digital games is like nothing for them. Even though they're not like a big company by any standard, for them, it's just not even worth trying to address, because they know people will either complain if they're going to complain or ignore it if they're going to ignore it. So, going forward, I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to one company in particular. P-Cube last week just put out a statement and is planning on reiterating that in the next couple of months before the PlayStation stores close. They are going to list all of their games they still have currently available in the West, whether it be Europe or North America. And I just think this is really, really cool, especially for a publisher that literally until they couldn't anymore was supporting the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. And P-Cube just did a really, really good job of just being like, hey, here's our titles. these are available digitally, these are available physically, here's what you need to know. Make the consumer as aware as possible. And it's really, really nice just because it's like, hey, if you're waiting for a copy of Muv-Luv, or if you want to get a copy of Steins Gate, like, these digital versions are not going to be around after this summer, so you better get going. And I would like to end this video by kind of giving a shout out to a couple of other publishers who I really would hope would kind of learn from P-Cube. Obviously, Atlus West and Sega, they're the same company. I don't think it's going to happen because I've already reached out to you, but if you could make a comment, if you could let people know your digital games are going away, you've got a lot of PlayStation 2 classics I'm sure people are going to miss once they're gone. Let people know about that. And also, before I go on to the other publishers, just a heads up, officially owned by Atlus Japan games, there's no way those are getting delisted. All of the PlayStation 2 games that Atlus made, that is not going to be a problem. Odin Sphere, Dragon's Crown, things like that aren't going to go away. Same with all the Persona games and all of their DLC. So you have time to buy those until the final day. Now, other publishers I think should give a heads up. Big one, NIS America, has a huge backlog on Vita, PlayStation 3, and PSP. They were supporting those systems literally until like last year. The fact that like Utawara Ramona 1, which is the footage you're seeing now, still came out on the Vita last year, even though it was digitally only, is crazy. And that's another big one. Of that is a huge game in a trilogy, and the only way you can experience the first one is digitally. At least if you want to experience it in English. Other publishers include Axis Games and Xseed, otherwise known as Marvelous Games. They've got not as huge of a track record for all three systems, but there are tons of games that people might miss out on. Muramasa's special because Muramasa's remake on Vita actually had exclusive story DLC that was never released physically anywhere, so you have to download that or else you're going to miss out on it. All of the Senran Kagura games, if you don't have a physical copy of Bon Appetit, that is also digital for the most part. And also, if anyone's been paying attention to the Vita market, not so much the PSP and PS3, just because those prices are kind of stagnated now, but the Vita prices are just skyrocketing. Like, if there was a game you wanted to get physically, I would say look at it now, and if you're not willing to pay that price, there's a pretty low chance it's going to go back down in the relative future, so digital might be your most affordable bet. And finally, Koei Tecmo Games has a huge backlog ranging all the way from Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, and they even still have some of their licensed games still up, so you can still get Berserk on there. Attack on Titan 1 is still on the PlayStation Store. It's $50 if you want the Vita version, which is very pricey, but to be fair, everything Attack on Titan right now is very pricey, so even its base MSRP isn't that bad. So, just a bit of a wish list of publishers I would really, really like to see kind of go out there and say, hey, here's one last big hurrah, here's all of our games, so if you want to get them legally, this is your best course of action. Either way, that was the whole point of my video. Just wanted to talk a little bit about these Atlus games that have been quietly kind of removed, and there is pretty much slim to no chance that these are ever coming back. A good case and example would be Spike Chunsoft. When Spike Chunsoft took back the rights of Danganronpa from NIS, they did not republish the Vita version because, of course, why would they want to make money on one of their most classic franchises that is most well known for being on the PlayStation Vita? So, yeah, don't be a Spike Chunsoft. Be a P-Cube. That's the whole moral of this video. Atlus games getting removed without any warning super sucks, but if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, let me know what you think of the games being removed or delisted in the comments below. What are some games you're hoping to get before the PlayStation Store closes this summer? And thank you all once again so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.